Are you again, still watching, still listening, still searching for things best left, submerged? Have you ever stared too long into dark water, leaned too close to the surface, only to feel something? Looking back, you would not be the first, nor will you be the last. Beneath the waves in the spaces between sight and shadow, there are creatures that do not obey your rules. They have no name, no legend, no place in the fragile little world you cling to. They only have hunger, patience, and a deep, abiding loathing for the air above. Tonight, we dive below, and what you find may be more familiar than you expect.
Deep in the heart of Patagonia, hidden beneath the shadow of the Andes Mountains, there exists a place of unnatural silence. A lake whose blackened waters conceal something ancient, something watching. This is Nahuel Huapi, a lake spanning over 130 square miles, its depths cold, dark, and untouched by time. The indigenous Mapuche people have long feared these waters, warning that a great beast lurks beneath the surface, one that does not wish to be seen. A creature whispered about for centuries, known by many names. But today, the world calls it Nahuelito. The Mapuche were among the first to speak of something beneath the water. Long before European explorers arrived, their stories told of a beast known as El Cuero, the hide, a name that evokes something stretched, unnatural, a thing that moves without sound, waiting beneath the waves. Unlike the famous Loch Ness monster, Nahuelito is not merely a curiosity, it is a presence. The Mapuche describe it as a flat, manta-like creature capable of pulling men beneath the water with unseen limbs. They feared its impossible patience, its willingness to wait just below the surface for the right moment to strike. For centuries, the legend of Nahuelito remained nothing more than a whispered warning among the indigenous tribes. That changed in 1897, when a strange report emerged from a Patagonian missionary settlement. A missionary's journal describes something disturbing. We have seen something. It moves below the canoes, its shadow vast and unbroken. When it passes, the lake ceases to ripple. The air turns cold. I do not believe it is an ordinary beast. Word spread quickly. By the early 20th century, explorers and fishermen alike began reporting encounters, many speaking of a long, sinuous body breaching the surface before vanishing beneath the waves. But it wasn't until 1922 that the world would turn its attention to Nahuel Huapi Lake and what might be living in its depths. In 1922, Argentine zoologist Clemente Onelli announced something shocking. The government would fund an expedition to hunt a monster. Onelli was no mere cryptid hunter. A respected naturalist and director of Buenos Aires Zoological Gardens, he had spent his career studying Patagonia's most elusive wildlife. But when multiple fishermen, and even a group of government workers, claimed to have seen a dark, humpbacked creature rising from the lake, Onelli believed it might be real. Fueled by public excitement, a team of armed hunters, biologists, and geologists set out to capture what they believed could be a prehistoric survivor, perhaps a plesiosaur, a reptilian relic of the age of dinosaurs, hidden away in the depths of Nahuel Huapi. At first, the mission was uneventful. They followed the shoreline, interviewing locals who claimed to have seen something unnatural in the water. But as the days stretched on, the men of the expedition began to change. They reported strange noises at night, rhythmic clicking sounds from the depths, like the echo of something breathing. Their equipment malfunctioned without explanation. Some began to refuse to go near the water after dark. Others simply vanished into the wilderness, never seen again. One by one, the men began to abandon the expedition. Some refused to go near the water. others simply disappeared. The expedition ended in failure. No bodies were recovered, no proof was found. And Onelli? His career never recovered, but the sightings did not stop. Decades later, in 1988, a group of tourists captured footage of a dark, humpbacked figure gliding beneath the surface. Though blurred and distant, the movement was deliberate, calculated. It did not behave like a floating log or a school of fish. Then, in 2019, a fisherman named Sebastian Torres described an encounter that still haunts him. He claimed that something rose from the lake, just for a moment, staring at him with an unnatural slowness before sinking back into the abyss. Skeptics argue that Nahuelito is nothing more than a trick of the eye, an illusion caused by waves, floating debris, or the occasional rogue sturgeon. Others claim that the Mapuche myths of El Cuero are simply exaggerations of giant freshwater eels, their long dark bodies creating an illusion of something monstrous. But some remain unconvinced. What if something has been lurking beneath the surface for longer than recorded history? What if the failed expeditions, the vanishing hunters, the eerie sounds heard in the dead of night are not just stories? The waters of Nahuel Huapi are silent, but they are never still.
Oh, mortals, always so eager to believe that if something is out of sight, it is also out of reach. That if the water is still, it is safe. That if nothing grabs you, it means you were never in danger. But tell me, when you close your eyes tonight, will you remember that moment when the lake went silent, when the world stood still? Will you wonder, just for a second, if something was waiting?